The 2024 college football season is in the books, which means that we are immediately going to turn our attention to the 2025 season, and that starts, as it has for the last 4 years on this show, with the way too early top 25. Let's jump into it. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, or you are a returning viewer and you have not subscribed, I'm going to ask you to do that. We are fast approaching 130,000 subscribers. Really would like to get there now that we have entered into what is officially the offseason. We're still going to keep it topical. We're going to talk college football 24/7, 365. And you let me know in the comments below, do you think that I am right to have the #1 team in the country be the Ohio State Buckeyes? Yes, those Ohio State Buckeyes. As we go on in 2025, there's going to be no Will Howard, who was lights out in the national championship game. But they are going to turn it over to Julian Sayin, who is a 5-star and pretty damn good. And if he can't do it, we got Tavian St. Clair, who's right there. Either way, the Buckeyes are going to have their youngest starter at quarterback since C.J. Stroud's first season, which is not that long ago, but far enough away that some people might have forgot that, between Will Howard and Kyle McCord. That said, Jeremiah Smith is still there. We'll see what happens with Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis. I think they're going to be just fine. Caleb Downs being back is also huge. But that is a top 25 team and the #1 team in the country for me. They also have a game in August against what I think is the #2 team in the country, the Texas Longhorns. Fresh off of a 7-year extension to his existing contract and a raise is probably going to make him one of the 3 highest paid coaches in all of football. Steve Sarkisian gets to turn it over to the Arch Manning era, which ought to be all the fun that you expect it to be. I think, like many of you, it's fun when you get to go from the #1 quarterback and the #1 player in the class to the #1 quarterback and the #1 player in the class seamlessly in the way that Texas has, living their best life, I think entering their golden years, as it were, really putting together a program that has to be dealt with each and every year. Back-to-back college football playoff appearances in the 4-team and the 12-team, the only team to do that the last 2 years. Steve Sarkisian joins Ryan Day, Dabo Swinney, Kirby Smart as the only head coaches in the sport right now who have done that, right? Made it to a 14 playoff and a 12-team playoff. I expect they'll be a force in the SEC, and they ought to get back to the SEC championship. #3, I got Oregon, Dan Lanning's Ducks. You get Dante Moore at quarterback. You're going to add Dylan Thieneman to your safety positions, which I think is great. That's a guy who has all-American potential for him. You're also getting Evan Stewart back, and you're adding DeCorian Moore to the outside. They ought to have the best chance of anybody not named Ohio State to get back to the Big Ten championship and perhaps double it up, go win it, and then finish what they started last season, go win themselves the first national championship in school history. #4, I got Notre Dame. I realize that Riley Leonard leaving might do something for you, but I think that C.J. Carr is actually going to be a step up if that's the way they choose to go. I don't know why they wouldn't. That is the number 36 overall recruit coming out of his class, one of the better quarterbacks in that class. And we've seen what an epic turnaround can look like for many, right? Just imagine what happens if Notre Dame chooses to go the way that they went this year, which is, hey, why not us? Why can't we get back to the national championship game and this time win it? This is also, that's what we're looking at here. #5, I got Georgia. Kirby Smart's team gets Gunnar Stockton as their starting quarterback. 2025 it's going to be fun for him. I think the addition of Zachariah Branch is going to help that receiving corps tremendously. Getting guys that can catch the football on the outside is just going to be huge for them because as good as the Ohio State receivers are, that's how bad it felt to watch Georgia play ball. They just could not hold on to the football. It's Gunnar Stockton or Carson Beck was putting it into their hands. I expect that to change. You also are entering the Nate Frazier era. To say nothing of Branson Robinson. I don't know how people forget about that dude, but you're going to get one look at my mans and you're going to understand. #6, Penn State. They're getting the core back. Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, Denai Dennis Sutton. They're all coming back, and they ought to be in position to do what they did, which is make the college football playoff for a second time in their history after making it for the first time just this year. #7, I got Clemson. Dabo Swinney not only gets his quarterback and Cade Klubnik back and his offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley, but is able to raid Penn State for what I think is one of the jewels of that program in 2024, which is defense coordinator Tom Allen. They have a lot in common, Dabo Swinney and Tom Allen. Without getting too deep into it, both of those men are about their players. Both of those men are about their faith. And I believe that Tom Allen could be there for as long as he wants to be. And with that triumvirate, Dabo Swinney, Garrett Riley, Tom Allen, you're going to be a monster in waiting if you're Clemson, man. Like, they're ready to go. #8, I got LSU. LSU was active. active in the transfer portal. 9 top 100 transfer portal additions, including Berrien Browning, who's outstanding in the return game, Patrick Payton, defensive end, edge for Florida State, and Oklahoma wide receiver Nick Anderson, who, when he was healthy in 2023, outstanding. Didn't play a bunch in 2024, didn't trust the training staff, transfers to LSU is fine. But more than that, they get Garrett Nussmeier, who is going to enter the Heisman conversation because you expect he's going to sling the ball around just like he did all of 2024. Number 9, I got South Carolina, which feels like it could be a little contentious, but Lenore Sellers is, for me, what Riley Leonard was. That's a guy that had over 3,200 yards rushing and passing. And then you add another tailback in the Rasul Faison, who had over 1,100 yards on the ground. And under the radar is Aaron Nolan, who's going to be behind Lenore Sellers, we think, but that is a pure passer and could really modernize that offense, and not modernize it, but push it into a passing offense in a way that Lenore Sellers just isn't capable of doing that. Number 10, I got Arizona State. That's Kenny Dillingham and Sam Levitt coming back. Sam Levitt, who was Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year, should be pushing to be one of the better players in the Big 12 this year. There's no reason to believe they can't run it back, especially as, yes, they're going to lose Cam Scattaboo, but they're adding some pretty great players as well. I'm interested to find out just what Indiana is about at number 11 here, man, because with Fernando Mendoza, you go from one great quarterback to what I think is another great quarterback, a 3,000-yard passer in Fernando Mendoza, back-to-back bowl appearances, quarterback at Cal, and a guy with 2 years eligibility left. So Kurt might not need to go into the portal to go get nobody after putting together a remarkable season. First 10-win and 11-win season in history, and their only losses this year are to the number 1 teams and number 2 teams in the country at the end of the season. Those are the 2 teams played in the national championship game, that being Notre Dame and Ohio State. Number 12, I got Michigan. After signing the number 1 quarterback in the class in Bryce Underwood and adding Mikey Keene, you might have solved this problem that is your quarterbacks, right? You get a guy that's competent back there. Perhaps you go win 10 games this year. Maybe you even make the Big Ten championship. Sharon Moore is doing everything he can to address what was a remarkable weakness for that team, but they still beat Ohio State, and that team made it all the way to the national championship game. Ole Miss, number 14, I got, the Trey Wallace edition just adds another really cool toy for Austin Simmons to play with. Austin Simmons, who led a scoring drive, 75-yard scoring drive when Jackson Dart needed to go out in that upset win against Georgia, and he is a capable passer. I expect it'll be really good. Number 15, I got Missouri. Back-to-back 10-win seasons for the first time since 2013, 2014. And now Eli Drinkwitz gets an outstanding player at quarterback in Bo Pribula, but also gets a new set of tools where he's got a guy that can take care of himself and run around. We're talking about a quarterback at Penn State who rushed for 242 yards, 9 scores, 38 rushes behind Drew Aller. That's pretty damn good. Number 16, I got Alabama. Jalen Milroe's gone. Justin Haynes is transferred to Michigan. So Jam Miller and perhaps Ty Simpson, maybe Austin Mack, going to be your guys. But coming off of the first time that we've seen Alabama lose 3 games in the regular season since 2007, Kalen DeBoer is going to be up against it, and he's going to have to prove that he is the guy that Nick Saban thought he was when he decided to retire, and he gave everybody his seal of approval. Number 17, I got Brett Bielema's Illinois. They won 10 games and were outstanding in that 10 and win those 10 games. They had really good wins against really great teams. Last one against South Carolina, first 10-win season they've had since 2001, and they ought to be in the conversation for the Big Ten championship. If for no other reason, everybody's going to be looking at Indiana and go, why not us? They had that kind of turnaround. Why not us? Number 18, I got Miami. Mario Cristobal. Lost Cam Ward, adds Carson Beck, continues to keep Shannon Dawson. That's going to be huge for them. The Hurricanes have not won a conference championship in 23 years, and haven't played for one since 2017. That's got to change going into this year. Number 19, I got Iowa State. Indiana rightfully stole all the headlines as the comeback team and the best story in college football, but Iowa State was right there. First 11-win season in their history, and they lost the Big 12 championship, but they made it to the Big 12 championship game for only the second time in their history, and they did it 4 years away from the first time. Like, this is what Matt Campbell has always promised with Rocco Beck coming back. After passing for 3,800 yards, 33 TDs, he ought to be a front runner for the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year in 2025. A&M, I got at 20. Marcel Reed is one thing, but adding KC Concepcion and we think, asterisk Micah Hudson is going to be huge for them. Keep an eye on Brady Hart, who's 6'5", 185, but also 16 years old. But he's going to A&M, was one time committed to Michigan. I'm singling him out because of his size and his prowess, but any guy that goes for 5.08 against Cardinal Mooney in a semifinal game probably can sling it. So I don't think he's going to start this year, but he is a guy that I'm going to keep my eye on going forward. Number 21, Florida. it's really time for that team to figure it out, man. If they play 2025 like they played the last three games of the season, I don't see why that team can't make their way into the college football playoff. DJ Lagway, it can be to the nth degree. Riley Leonard, if Riley Leonard could pass. Lenore Sellers, if Lenore Sellers could be a threat to pass. That guy's got it. He's a driver in a fast car, and they're going to go screaming down the straights of their non-conference. It's about whether or not they're going to be able to throw that car in the corners and exit and doing their wheel-to-wheel combat when it comes to the SEC competition. Shout out to his name day, Lewis Hamilton, in front of Enzo Ferrari's house where he's living for the next 3 years, and the F40 in all black. I was hyped up. Florida, get your Lewis Hamilton on, baby. Get your Lewis Hamilton on. Number 22, I got BYU. 2025 ought to be the Jake Retzloff show, if it wasn't already. I mean, that dude led them to their first 11-win season since 2009. And again, they didn't even play for the Big 12 championship. They get a big win against Colorado. 23, I got Southern Methodist. Rhett Lashley's going to add Tyler Van Dyke to the mix with Jevin Jennings, especially after Kevin Jennings kind of crapped the bed against Penn State. But this is a program that is on a 2-game losing streak, even though it played in the college football playoff and in the ACC championship game. Number 24, I got Iowa. The addition of South Dakota State quarterback Mark Gronowski, who is an All-American and a national champion, 49-6 as a starter, 10,000 passing yards, makes him the best quarterback that Kirk France has ever had coming in, like full stop. If he can add some competence to what they're doing offensively, look out, Iowa is a force once again, not unlike, say, Illinois. And then number 25, I got Colorado. Yes, I know, Colorado. But it's also two quarterbacks that I think can play, Caden Salter and Julian Lewis. Caden Salter, who had an 1,100-yard rushing season just 2 years ago, and is one of the only players in the country who can say he's got like 1,600 rush yards in the past 2 years. Add to that, he's a prodigious passer, and he led Liberty to the Fiesta Bowl appearance. They got boat raced by Oregon, but the point is the same. It's at Liberty. What could he do at a place like Colorado? And you know that Prime is going to hit the portal as hard as anybody can and probably come out with some players and maybe put together one more win to get them into the Big 12 championship and or maybe even win the Big 12 championship. All right, you let me know what you think about my top 25 in the comments below.